what we wanted to do tonight is a lot of things have happened within the draft circle. Obviously, the Raiders sit at number 7 overall. There was a big trade up from the Carolina Panthers from number 9 to take over that number 1 slot, which was owned by the Chicago Bears. So now, with the needs that the Raiders have, it actually has caused obviously a stir as far as like what are we going to do at number 7. Signing Jimmy Garoppolo definitely did convolute a little bit of need versus want in that sense. And so what we're going to do is go through 3 different scenarios of the Raiders picking at 7, 2 of which will be them sitting at number 7. And we'll run this PFF mock draft simulator where we can control the teams, and we'll make the picks based off of most recent mock drafts and then kind of debate what direction we want to go in. As it sits, the Panthers, the Texans are 1 and 2. They're going to take quarterbacks. At number 3, the Arizona Cardinals, they have Kyler Murray. Whether they like him or not, or he plays too much Call of Duty, who's to say, right? They're not going to draft a quarterback. But right at number 4 is the Indianapolis Colts, which is going to be a team that is a QB needy team and could potentially pose a threat. So we're going to make a trade from number 7 to number 3. We'll see kind of what the draft capital is as far as what we would have to give up. We'll walk through it. You guys will hear it as we're going to do it soon. But that's kind of the exercise. So Mike, if you're ready, we can get right into this thing. The only discrepancy that I have is we're going to alternate picks on these simulated picks where we have control over, if you're okay with that.
Sounds good.
I got the head nod. I'm good. At number 1, we have the Carolina Panthers. Mike, I'm going to put you in the hot seat. What has rumored for the Panthers trading up is they're either going to take one of 2 players, either CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. Micah, who do you take at number 1 in this mock draft?
I feel hard pressed that someone's going to trade all those assets away for someone who's 5'10", $175. So all jokes aside, CJ Stroud, he did nothing but skyrocket his value when it came to the combine and where things sit now. And I think right after that, we saw the Panthers. They jumped up and got that number 1 spot. So go on CJ Stroud.
Boom. Love it. CJ Stroud going number 1 overall, which makes the Houston Texans at number 2 taking Bryce Young. And at number 3, I'm going to take this pick. Actually, sorry, Micah. They are going to take Will Anderson at number 3. Coming up at number 4, I'm going to put you on the spot again, and we'll reverse this, I promise. Number 4, the Indianapolis Colts sit, and they are a QB needy team. They're the ones that, once again, we mentioned might leapfrog the Cardinals just to switch a pick just to get their number 3 quarterback. They're in the quarterback search right now. Do we go Will Levis or Anthony Richardson?
I think they're going to go Will Levis. Go that route.
Okay. And number 4, the Indianapolis Colts take Will Levis, which leaves the Seattle Seahawks at number 5. And as much smoke as there been, really on the field, not really on the field, off the field stuff with Jalen Carter, I think the Seattle Seahawks go Jalen Carter at number 5. So that slots him in there. At number 6, I'm going to take this one because Mike and next one we're going to debate. This is not a very good structure of the exercise. I promise I'll get better. But I think at number 6, the Detroit Lions are going to take a corner, and that corner is going to be Devin Witherspoon. At number 7, corner out of Eastern Illinois is Jimmy Garoppolo. Sorry, my brain works weird.
Too much Jimmy on the brain.
He's killing me right now. Doesn't matter. Which leaves us at number 7. Okay, so this is the tried and true number 7 pick for the Raiders. Okay, let's say 3 of the 4 top quarterbacks go, right? And what we're stuck with is the 4th quarterback as it relates to this mock draft. Anthony Richardson is the last one there, but a couple positions of need that are staring the Raiders in the face. We have edge Tyree Wilson. We have Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon. And then we have, obviously, quarterback Anthony Richardson. What are you feeling right now as far as if the Raiders were dealt this hand? We have a quarterback that he's a project, but we just signed Jimmy G. Okay. Who knows how the Raiders are evaluating this quarterback, but also You look at we could go Tyree Wilson, who's obviously an edge rusher. We don't know what we're doing with Chandler Jones, or we could go Christian Gonzalez, who's a cornerback, clearly a position of need right now, and that's not including the tackles that are on the board. But as far as how PFF addresses it, and also how I see it, like I think we're taking either Tyree Wilson, Gonzalez, or Richardson. Michael, what are your thoughts right now, sitting on the clock with the Raiders?
Sitting on the clock with the Raiders right now, man, I would love to pull the trigger on Anthony Richardson. I would love to pull the trigger on that. I think it's just tough because when
Did
you've
you
got
rig this? Did you take Levis on purpose just so you could deal with?
no, I did
I'm
not.
just kidding.
No, I did not. But I would love for them to pull the trigger on that. I think it just would be way too hard with one of these tackles that are on the board, and Christian Gonzalez being on the board. I find it hard that we would take an edge rusher or a D end, unless it was Will Levis or Will Anderson, unless Will Levis was there at edge rusher,
And he could play the end.
He could. What I want to do, AR-15 all day, pull the trigger on it.
Boom.
What we are probably going to do, not that. So,
what do you think that we would do? So we're going to slot it in as AR-15, right?
realistically, I think they might take one of the tackles in this spot. Maybe I'm just like so used to the Raiders just taking tackles in the first round when you just don't want them to, right? And it just is always something of need. For how many tackles we've taken in the first round, which probably only 2 in a while, right? But it just seems like that's always the option there. And it's like, what are we going to do at tackle then if we don't just snag one of the best guys, But I don't know. I just think I'm jaded towards thinking what are the Raiders actually going to do compared to what I want them to do. And I feel like Raider Nation feels that way too often, but nonetheless.
No, I mean, I agree, right? I kind of put you in the hey, here are 3 positional needs where it's corner, edge, quarterback. Like tackle is a big need. And if you can get a top tier tackle at that spot in the draft at number 7, I think you do it, right? If you have that player like that highly ranked on your board, the depth of the tackle draft is just not there as far as like finding a starter in round 2, round 3, round 4, right? So it's like I don't dismiss your logic by any means, but I force you to pick, and you're like, I think the Raiders actually might do something else. And guess what, Micah? That's probably going to happen because they usually do something outside of what we think they are. So I'm with you there. Cool. So now we're going to reset the exercise a little bit and go again. We're going to run it back. Okay. So now I'm on the clock at number 1, and I'm just going to mix it up just for content purposes. I'm going to take Bryce Young at number 1. Okay, Micah. So which really doesn't mix it up, but Micah, you're on the clock at number 2 with Houston Texans. Where do you think that they go?
Let me tell you about a guy out of Kentucky, right?
I was just gonna say.
That's great. That timing lined up. Yeah, they're gonna go CJ Stroud. You mixed it up, but it doesn't mix up where we go from 3 on. So
all right, so we got CJ Stroud going number 2 overall, which Andy totally mixed that one up. So now I am at the Arizona Cardinals at number 3. And you know what? Sometimes I can look past certain blemishes in people, really. Okay. Will Anderson, I know exactly what you're going to be. You're going to be great. You're going to stop the run. You're going to rush the passer. But there's something about Jalen Carter that is just the best player on the board. And I'm going to go that exact route. Give me Jalen Carter at number 3 for the Arizona Cardinals, because really they have a history of just making terrible decisions. And here we go. This might backfire. They're going to take the risk. Jalen Carter will take a guy that's 5'7" at quarterback. He plays Halo a ton and also Call of Duty. I think in succession, he played Halo and Call of Duty, which everyone else did, right? Jalen Carter, number 3 overall, which leads you, Micah, to number 4 again, because I flip-flopped it all. Number 4, the Colts. Will Levis is right there. Yeah, right there for the taking.
A lot of people didn't know that the Colts were sneaky potential players and going out and snagging Lamar Jackson. So what do? They go and snag the next closest thing Lamar Jackson that this NFL draft has, AR-15 to the Colts. Probably the least sexiest jersey someone could Photoshop on him, I feel like. There's just a
Yeah,
lot cooler jerseys that look better, with
zero,
an
like negative
AR-15
swag.
logo. Yeah,
Yeah,
just that white and blue is just whatever. But nonetheless, they're taking their flyer. They listened to the pod, is what they heard. They listened to the pod and they heard, Will Levis, AR-15. They're both raw. Will Levis might be ruined. Richardson's so raw you can just make him into what you want him to be.
I just realized that Will Levis went to Kentucky. Kentucky's colors, blue and white. It just makes sense. It always makes sense. But shout out Colt Stan, I believe is his name. You got AR-15 tonight, dude. Great. So that leads us to the Seattle Seahawks at number 5. And they are in an interesting position, right? So you have a couple different, positional needs that are on the board. You have corner, you have edge rusher. They just re-signed Geno Smith. Do they want to take a chance on Will Levis? At the end of the day, probably not. I think they're going to look at edge. And I think this is where it continues the slide of Will Anderson. They're going to go Tyree Wilson because the Seattle Seahawks are a team that value traits over anything. I would say the upside of Wilson is not a lot greater. It's greater than Will Anderson. And with Will Anderson, you know what you're getting. Tyree Wilson just has that incredible reach, arms. What is it? Arm span? What am I saying?
Wingspan.
That arm and wingspan. He has 2 different types of spans. Most important is wingspan. He has a wingspan. I just think that based on what I know about the Seattle Seahawks, they value the traits. I think they'll take the upside with Tyree Wilson, taking him at number 5 overall, which gets Micah to number 6. The Detroit Lions are on the board. Now, once again, Will Anderson has fallen. Will Levis has fallen. They have Jared Goff. They drafted Aiden Hutchinson last year, right? So 2 of the top players is it a need right now or is it a want? They also have a big need for corner, which is what we went in the last round of this exercise. So, Michael, what do you think the Lions are going to do at number 6 overall?
They stick with that same positional group, but they go with the man out of Oregon, Christian Gonzalez at cornerback.
Love it.
Witherspoon, sorry, brah. Maybe that was you were mock draft 1.0. We're on 1.2. Christian Gonzalez, you are a Detroit Lion.
Love it. Now, the Raiders sit with a very interesting decision. Okay. Will Levis is the 4th quarterback on the board. Okay. Which has been, whether him or AR-15, one of those 2 have been the ones that have fallen and we have to make a decision. But as we all know, the draft doesn't always go as we anticipate. Definitely think a lot of things that make sense. The Lions just drafted Christian Gonzalez. And in the other one, I had them taking Witherspoon, both positional needs, but different players, right? So it slides different players on the board. And then also the Seattle Seahawks taking Tyree Wilson versus, I believe the previous one was Jalen Carter. So a lot of shuffling, a lot of jiving and jocking, I believe. So we sit here at number 7, Will Anderson on the board, Will Levis on the board, Devin Witherspoon on the board, and for all you tackle lovers out there, Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern, offense tackle that could solve a lot of needs for the Raiders on the board. Micah, where are we feeling right now? You are on the clock. You're on the clock, but then you'll give your take, and then I'll give my take, and then we'll decide. Mutual.
Yeah, I think if things pan out the way they pan out, I think you can't not take Will Anderson. Now, I get it. I passed up on him for Paris Johnson III Jr., tackle of Ohio State. The last time we did this, I get it, right? But
months ago,
when it comes down to it, we probably needed Chandler Jones's replacement last year. So getting him in this year's draft, that's just something you don't pass up on. Something you don't pass up on. That's all. That's like taking Jamarcus Russell over Calvin Johnson would be my comparison. Who would be if I had to just throw 2 random players out there.
Yeah. They
So,
weren't even in the
but yeah,
same draft. No, they were. Oh, we did that.
yes,
Son of a
that
gun.
actually happened
Thanks
to be
for
something that,
bringing it up.
yeah.
No, I'm absolutely with you. I think it's a no-brainer. I think you run the card up pretty quickly with Will Anderson. Levis is just more. We talked about this. He's a project just like Anthony Richardson. You can make the same debate around having Jimmy G there. You can make the debate about Devin Witherspoon or Peter Skoronski. But Anderson, I would imagine, is a top 3 graded player on the Raiders board right now, and they would be lucky to have him. We're going to take him at number 7, put it on the board. Yes.